All right, so our next cab off the rank, Sarah Stevens, who is the Sustainable Land Management Team Leader from the Gulf Savannah Natural Resources Management. So, is she here? Yes, excellent. There we go. I was going to say, I couldn't see you because you're hiding behind the TV. Good. Just had to check you hadn't left. All right, so Gulf Savannah NRM is a non-profit natural resource management organisation dedicated to strengthening communities, supporting local industries and cultivating living landscapes in northern Queensland. The organisation combines science, technology and land care to enhance productivity for farmers and graziers while maintaining healthy ecosystems and addressing the unique challenges of northern Queensland. For Sarah, since shifting back from outback aviation to natural resource management 7 years ago, she has worked with extensive beef and intensive agricultural enterprises in the SA arid lands and Gulf Savannah NRM regions. An advocate for environmental stewardship as key to productive and profitable agriculture, she is dedicated to helping small and family businesses to find alignment between their environmental and production realities and industry sustainability goals. Please join me in welcoming Sarah to the stage. Thank you. I lost you.
Big button goes forward. Got it. All right. Hi. As Ange just said, I'm Sarah Stevens. I'm Sustainable Land Management Team Leader with Gulf Savannah NRM, and I'm going to talk today about using the framework to demonstrate and communicate sustainability through a CRC Northern Australia cotton grains and cattle project. So Gulf Savannah is one of 54 NRM organisations across Australia, and our region hugs the bottom of Cape York, stretching from Mareeba to Karumba. 234,000 square kilometres and 4 river catchments flowing into the Gulf of Carpentaria. Most of the region is dry tropical savanna land with low fertility. Nearly 90% of land use is extensive beef grazing on native pastures with conservative stocking rates of 4 head per 100 hectares. A monsoonal climate A monsoonal climate brings a 4-month wet season from December to March and an 8-month long dry. This means that whatever pasture grows in the wet season has to last until the next wet season. And it also means that for most of the year, the quality of pasture is poor. Urea supplementation to increase utilisation of hayed-off pasture is standard practice, but when confronted with extended dry seasons or drought, high-quality protein supplement feed has to be trucked in to see cattle through. There are, however, some areas, oh my God, I'm not very good at this clicky thing. There are, however, thank you, some areas of high fertility basalt soils and frontage country that are capable of, and in a few places already supporting, grain and forage crops. The North Queensland Cotton, Grain, Cattle Mixed Farming System program is one of 6 projects being delivered under the CRC Northern Australia Cotton, Grains and Cattle program. An R&D collaboration between universities, RDCs, government, private enterprise and NRM. The project is investigating diversification options for Northern Australian beef enterprises as a way to improve drought resilience. The focus is on the local production of forage and grain crops, in particular grain sorghum, with the in particular grain sorghum as a high protein cattle feed, with potential for crop rotations for soil health, weed control, and cottonseed back into the cattle system. There are several research teams looking at this from different angles, including cotton pest and disease and canopy management in humid far northern environments, soil water capture, conservation and crop use efficiency, non-cotton crop rotations for cattle supplementation, but also for emerging high-value grain markets and environmental services, live weight gain and methane emissions of cattle fed a range of locally grown crop and fodder supplements, and the comparative advantage of grazing and conservation feed systems to optimise utilisation and animal production value of feed produced on farm. As the NRM in the project, Gulf Savannah's focus is on the environmental sustainability of this diversification of reasonably marginal extensive beef country into cropping, and the alignment of industry sustainability frameworks with northern production systems. For us, the final product of the project is an environmental stewardship manual. This will guide North Queensland cattle and cropping enterprises to identify key practices in their production systems that will align them with the sustainability goals and market, consumer and finance expectations. It'll also show them how to track and record those practices without the need of a consultant or a scientist as a starting point. There's been a lot of talk today about science-backed data, but and we also heard from Emily about privilege in this whole system. For our producers, the prohibitive costs of getting a scientist to demonstrate that your production practices are scientific is an issue. We'll end up with no data at all. So we're trying to create a system where it's easy to collect, they can collect it themselves, and it's not a burden on them. So the first thing I did in the project was to create a monster spreadsheet to collate the environmental categories, criteria, principles, priorities, indicators, topics, targets from the cotton, beef, grains and agnostic Australian agricultural sustainability framework. This landed me on soil, water, biodiversity, carbon, chemicals and biosecurity. I know I'm not the only person in the room who has one of these spreadsheets, but I was only looking at environmental indicators, so full respect to those of you who looked at more industries and more themes. So once I had my magnificent spreadsheet, I then looked at a wide range of industry best management practice tools, guides, to translate that complexity of indicators and targets into management practices relevant to North Queensland. It was important to ensure that not only did the practices align with the frameworks, but they also reflect the on-ground realities of North Queensland environment and regionally specific practices such as wet season spelling and cool burning. Over the last 18 months, myself and one of our project officers have taken that list out to producers, and after a pannikin of water from the trough, tea, worked through which of these are you already doing, which aren't you doing, and why. Is it because it's not financially viable, not relevant to your production system, doesn't work in the north, you want to but you can't afford it? Analysis of these essentially surveys has given us a set of key practices for soil, water, biodiversity, etc., that we know make sense in the north and are environmentally and importantly economically sustainable. These practices will form the basis of the stewardship manual, which will delve into what it is, why would you do it, how to do it, where to find more information and resources, and how to collect data on what you're doing. And as we've heard many times today, that data collection piece is absolutely critical. We have been and will continue to do this process through testing and refining with producers. And I know the C word gets bandied around a fair bit and I don't like to use it, but we are determined to co-design this stewardship manual with producers. So there's some buy-in, a sense of ownership. What I don't want to do is spend 4 years on a manual that no producer reads. So what have we learned? Through our engagement with producers, we've identified several interesting insights into applying the AASF. A starting point for sustainability. So the framework can help producers to prioritise and focus their efforts on integrating or improving on the practices with the most relevance and benefit to their environmental, production and economic sustainability, and to demonstrating their sustainability footprint. Building on existing practices. We've helped producers to recognise that environmentally sustainable practices that align with the targets of the AASF are often already integral to their operations because they make both production and economic sense. There's always room for improvement, but a lot of what they do, because it's good for land, stock and business, is sustainability indicators in action. Leveraging the framework. By supporting producers in aligning with the framework, we hope that they'll be able to leverage the extensive work that the AASF is doing in promoting the sustainability of the Australian industry and use that to the benefit of their own businesses and their regional industries. And finally, normalising the language. By using the AASF as a consistent reference point to translate sustainability goals into on-farm practices, we're hoping to normalise the language of the frameworks and hopefully increase knowledge and recognition of them and the benefits of aligning with them. We have a fair bit of work ahead of us still in pulling the manual together, but in the 3 years I've been working on this project, I have noticed a significant shift in attitudes towards sustainability. When I first started, the word sustainability would invoke an awful lot of eye rolling or just complete glazing over. Now when I have these conversations with producers, I get a sense that they understand what's coming. Most of them are flat out running their businesses and it's on a to-do list, but they appreciate the updates and insights. We all know the costs and risks associated with moving to more sustainable farming practices, and measuring and reporting on them sits with the farmers. If we want them to fulfil the expectation to produce more, using less while operating sustainably, we need to support them in every way we can. And I hope this project will go some way in doing that. Thank you.